So a couple of days ago, Reform announced what they call the biggest welfare shake-up in a generation.
Honest Bob, wasn't it? Yeah, didn't see Nasty Nigel at all.
Yeah, unusually, there was some delegation. Unusually, whether it's because Nigel thought it was a bad idea and therefore would leave it to Bob.
Yeah.
And for listeners, we ought to point out it was Robert Jenrick.
Yeah,
we're talking about. And, this is Reform territory. And basically what they said is that their proposals would cut an enormous figure from the welfare bill of 50 billion, not over a period of years, but a year, by targeting mostly working age people and disability benefits. So let's just go through the headlines because there's a lot of detail for this, but we haven't got time for that. Perhaps the biggest headline grabber, or at least from my point of view, was that benefits would be largely restricted to British citizens, which sounds great, doesn't it? You can see a lot of right-leaning citizens going, oh, yeah, absolutely. And then you say, well, what does that mean? That would include universal credit, housing benefit, child benefit, pension credit, and disability benefits. Interestingly, not pensions themselves, because there's an element of having paid into that. So there's a contract there that you can't just rip up. And that bit is the lion's share, 21 billion of the savings in year 5. You have to wait a bit for that. But this controversially would include EU citizens with settled status. Yeah. And that, of course, was all part of the withdrawal agreement with the EU. And when challenged, I didn't see the presentation, but I think he just dusted that off as, oh, there's lots of discussions we need to have and blah, 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 blah.
They're going to renegotiate that. That's what they're saying,
So I guess if we've done a deal, presently this would be illegal. And then you think, well, hang on a minute, is this fair? Because there'll be a lot of people with settled status who've been in this country for many, many years.
And contributing,
contributing.
Yeah.
So, that felt to me was largely unworkable. And then an area you're probably better to speak about than me, but this is a major overhaul of disability benefits with PIP. And the idea being that the health element of universal credit for working age people would be replaced by a health security allowance focused on people with severe and enduring disabilities, and others, everyone else would receive help through local authorities giving them a cash payment, a sort of, I don't know what you call that, like a benevolent sort of subsidy now and again. So I don't know. Is that workable? Could that work?
I don't think so. I think it's all back of a fag packet stuff at 11 o'clock in Wetherspoons late on a Saturday night. I just don't think any of it. It's good headline grabbing stuff, isn't it? But you've only got to dig just beneath the surface and it all starts to unravel. For example, the figure that they're quoting, 50 billion, the figure that I came across was 42 billion for starters. So it's less. Okay. And that's if you were to scrap PIP and scrap the element of health supplement on top of universal credit altogether and not pay anything back. So you don't replace it with anything. That would then save you 42 billion pounds. But that means that nobody gets anything. The disabled are left to get on with it, and those people who are off sick don't get any supplement or anything. That's not a net figure. That's a gross figure. And then we've got no real, as you quite rightly pointed out there, we've got no real detail as to what will replace this. It's all a bit woolly and passing off responsibility to local authorities. How are local authorities meant to deem what the criteria is? And will that then mean you've got a postcode lottery if you move from one local authority to another?
I'm sure it will. Then you've also got the look and feel of that, haven't you? You can imagine some sort of megalomaniac in a local authority suddenly having all this power to decide who gets 20 quid there, 100 quid here, because that's how I read it. But anyway, so that's 3 things. I better move on to cover I got 2 more and then we can sort of open it up. The one that this is real red meat to Reform supporters, the idea that long-term claimants of benefits who are people, let's say, and this is people judged capable of working. So these are the sort of, not the severely disabled, but the NEETs, some of those who aren't working, and we probably all know somebody like that. We probably know these people, that rather than just sit there and doom scroll or play computer games.
This is a bit of a cliched idea of what these people do, isn't it? Sit there and doom scroll or play computer games.
Let me finish. Can I finish? Because the killer thing here is that these people, instead of doing that, would be doing 20 hours. So that's that 4 hours a day or 5 hours, 4 days of community work for long-term claimants. Now, what does that mean? So you think community work, helping old ladies across the road? No, a bit more visible than that. This is cleaning high streets and parks and helping libraries. I can imagine all these libraries full of all these people.
Like a chain gang, basically.
Well, yes, they'd obviously have a
put them in yellow overalls or like they do in the States, Department of Corrections on the back, and they can go and get their broom.
I think they'd have a sort of high-vis jacket with the word claimant on the back. And I think that would happen. So refusal, of course, some people may say not on your Nelly. Refusal would result in immediate withdrawal of benefits. So we should discuss that idea. So do you think that's got legs? Do you think it's good for people to be out and about and active rather than doom scrolling,
It's just
good for their mental
nonsense,
health? That's always good, isn't it, for mental health?
Well, yeah, I'd agree with encouragement to get people out and about and doing things that are good for their mental health.
Yeah.
But I don't think any mandatory activity in terms of forcing people to sweep roads. Why is it always sweep? I mean, what happens to all those people who work for local authorities who are now going to be thrown out of jobs because they're replaced with this army of, goodness only knows, a city like Bristol will be the cleanest place on earth.
I just got a vision. You're trying to take your dog out.
No, I'm cleaning this part of the road. No, you're not. I am. It's just nonsense.
You try to take your dog out for a walk and there's all these people sweeping up around you, but God,
following along.
Get out of the way. As I said, the library, you go in there for a quiet read and there's can I help you? Can I help you?
Have you thought about this book? What about that one? This one's only just that'd be like going into a bank.
But anyway,
I just don't think it's. I just think it is exactly as you said. It's like throwing red meat, isn't it? Really, all the time, and it's discriminatory red meat, and it's as divisive as you can get. I think it's horrible. But anyway, you had some more.
One more
points than that,
and this one did make me laugh, and actually it was the biggest surprise for me of the whole lot, because the other four you could have predicted. This one is that employers to take greater responsibility for long-term sickness and be asked, or told rather, to pay sick pay costs for employers of up to 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
We all know, in the nicest way, we all know those individuals, particularly in bigger firms, have been with you, and then suddenly you don't see them for a couple of years. And can you imagine if you're an employer and you have to pay for them? But the good news is that Reform are proposing lower employer national insurance contributions to offset that. And it wasn't clear to me, and probably is in the details, of whether you would effectively self-insure that risk by banking the lower employer contribution, or you would take out your own insurance against them. But either way, you're suddenly transferring a pretty onerous responsibility from the state to employers. Now, in a time when employers are worried enough about making the next hire.
Yeah. I mean, the old adage runs here, doesn't it? Follow the money. I mean, why would government, as they perceive themselves to be doing that if it's not to save money on what their current bill is in terms of paying long-term sickness benefit? And if they're transferring it across to business, then, they're always talking, and Reform a lot, they're always talking about how they're increasing national insurance contributions are coming down on business, but they're just moving things around. They're moving the deck chairs on the Titanic. They perceive that to be the case because, again, we've spoken about this to a degree in the past. If you're passing the responsibility on in terms of long-term sickness payments to a huge multinational, then they can probably fit that into their accounting. But if you're Mrs. Moggins, who's running a cafe round the corner with 5 employees, and little Julie goes off sick with some sort of long-term health issue and is off for 19 months, a little cut in national insurance contributions isn't going to be sufficient to be able
Well,
to
you wouldn't
pay our
think so.
wages for 2 years.
So,
Yeah.
I suppose on the one hand, having a bold plan to reduce what is a frighteningly growing line on our national expenditure is a good thing. But it just felt to me like a lot of them were unworkable, particularly the foreign nationals. Because, of course, the reverse of that would be we will have a lot of expats in Europe on this reciprocal deal, although they did apparently put £500,000 in their proposals for having to pay for those people. But,
All right. Costa Brava and Costa Dorada will empty overnight when they'll all be coming back.
It could well do. I think I am in the camp that says we have got to do something about the fact that our benefits bill is just growing by thousands of people every week. It's the unintended consequences of universal credit. And there is no question that people are gaming it. I actually am aware of some cases myself. I won't go into the details, where people are gaming it and are taught to game the system. And that's not right. There is something, particularly with the 1 million NEETs, there is something about the community work idea. But when it comes to things that to me look like humiliation, it doesn't
We have
work.
had this before. This is nothing new, I should add. I mean, we had this controversy a few years back. I don't even remember. One particular case was held up where this girl was forced to go and work in Poundland for 2 or 3 weeks, and she didn't want to work in Poundland, and she was paid less than the minimum wage as a result of one of these schemes that had been set up through the job centre. So none of these initiatives are anything new, and I don't think mandatory forcing people to do anything. I think we need to look much more. I mean, in terms of this whole proposal, we need to look much more at the reason why people are in this position. Now, I take on board what you're saying. There is a small element of people who will always game the system.
I think it's larger than you think.
No, I don't.
I do. Neither of us know. Let's be honest.
No.
Neither of us know.
I think I probably know a little bit more than you do, having worked in the industry for 15 years.
Hang on a minute. Can I just check when that high horse came in?
But the point is, there will always be an element of people who do that, but the vast majority, and I think we need to look at why it is, and it's post-COVID, we've got this huge number of a lot of youngsters who aren't enthused in respect of going into work, and what it is that is causing that. Rather than saying, we force them to do this and we force them to do that. It's not.
Isn't this what Milburn is doing or has done?
Yeah.
And what's his proposal? I'm afraid I can't remember. Have we had his report yet?
I don't think we have had
it's one of Starmer's 3-year consultations, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's looking at it and he's taking ideas on board and what have you. But I think this is probably another issue, isn't it? So we maybe not head down that road. But what I think about the reform proposals is, unfortunately, take away all the stuff around the outside, because we've got all this talk about, all the talk which isn't funded, which is just all hyperbole. The main thing that you picked up on that comes out of this to me is this talk about the foreigners again. The foreigners are awful. The foreigners are dreadful. And if we can strip them out of everything and they won't get on anything at all, then we'll be mad. It's just a division thing again. I mean, nobody's talked about what happens if you get somebody who's been here on settled status who finds himself unemployed with children. What happens? What are they, left on the street to beg, sell matches? Where do we go?
It's unworkable. So I think we're actually both agreed in general that this is just a publicity stunt. Conscious of time, so I'll probably have to wrap the article there. The cynic might say it was time to follow on from Mr. Farage's election victory and maybe bury the other issue that's suddenly kicked off again around investigations into his lack of declarations. But we'll have to see. Maybe one day they'll have the chance to put this policy into action and then find out how unworkable it is.